Hello, everyone. So Theo declared that the war is over, and I think his view on this is kind of like half of the truth. So I'm going to talk about the other half because he said, "Hey, I don't want to do any more videos on this topic." So, uh, so what was the war? So the war was Create React App. Create React App was recommended as the way to start your React app. So as of yesterday, or I guess even like tomorrow morning, if you want to start React app, you're going to start it in Create React App. And that was the blessed solution. That was the thing that had all the features, and that was the easiest one to start. And everyone used to kind of like say that, hey, why are you complaining that React is bad? It's literally the thing that is getting recommended. How could it possibly be bad? So uh, today I'm going to just kind of like rant about it and just talk react a bit on the Twitter discussions that I was in or wasn't in, just like the ones that happened. So hopefully I will bring kind of like part of the story that is not going to be covered by like a bigger, better streamers. The the ones that the ones that set the tone. So the tone was set the following way: Hey, Create React app is dead. Everyone should switch to next.js and be happy. And I'm going to talk about it. So I just got something in chat. Uh, so uh, Justice is doing Rust and Svelte, so he doesn't really care about React. Yeah, that was funny. Aside is that when I tweeted about like, hey, this new React thing is happening, and the answer that I got is like, hey, what is React? Everyone should use Vue and Svelte. And I understand. I understand what you're doing, but it doesn't like help completely for React people, because if you go to like uh, if people are starting web development right now, they are starting with like, hey, how do I do web development? And the first thing is like, yeah, use React. And it's like, okay, how do I do React? And the first thing is like create React app. So that was a bad path. A lot of people got kind of like caught into that, and uh, it's possible to imagine that React would like recommend Vue or Svelte. They kind of do. Dan has actually had a tweet about it, and I'm not sure we're going to get to that, but let's go just through the program that I have. So let's set the stage. Uh, Create React app has died today. Why has it died today? Uh, if you go now to Google and write React, this is what you see. React is a library to building interfaces. Sure, that's fine. You click on it, and what is happening? Is that a new website? Is that like a completely new docs that don't have like class components and stuff anymore? This is this never happened before. And even crazier, if you go to search and write Vite, you actually find something about Vite. I wonder what they have like a old docs anywhere. Like, is there a link to old docs? Yeah, I don't know where to search for old docs. So let's go back to the idea. So you put Vite there, and you're on this page. And so what is happening on this page is how to start a new React project. And the first kind of like sentence that you have there is you should build new apps fully with React. This is a new concept because when you're using uh, when you're using create React app, you're starting with like public slash index HTML. You're filling out your template, and then that template will start your React app. Now you're encouraged to build fully in React, which is like a new interesting concept that may or may not stick. But a lot of people got kind of like rubbed the wrong way about it. And like, why? So the why is that if you want to do production grade React, you should start with Next.js, which is rubbing people in the wrong way because it's like a commercial company. They don't charge you for Next, but they charge you for Vercel hosting, right? Because it's pretty it's pretty easy to get into paid plan, and it's pretty easy to pay. I forgot who said this, but it's like, okay, if I'm paying $20 per seat per month, that means if I have 5 people, I'm paying $1,000 a year, right? So which is a which a lot of people see like as a trap. So if we're seeing this as a trap, so the trap is that, hey, I'm telling you how to build production grade websites, and I'm sending you into a direction of Vercel. Half of the React team is like working at Vercel, so this isn't like surprising, but a lot of people are upset about it. Like, Theo is not upset about it. Theo thinks that Next is the best tool if you want to do React, and React team thinks uh, that Next is the best tool to build React. So there is a lot of alignment, and Next is like really popular. I don't know if it's like as popular as Create React App, but it's really popular, right? Maybe it's even more popular than Create React App. Okay, I have some chat stuff. I'm currently enjoying Persis. Okay, I never heard of what that is. Rust framework. Oh yeah, I need to look into Rust stuff more. And thank you, uh, Brony Bronifty for follow. Yeah, I'm getting gaining followers finally. uh, something new from use next. Right, and it's not wrong. I think like using. So let's go back to like here. So it's like, is it wrong to use Next for a new React project? There are two kinds of people who are going to say that no, it's wrong. One kind of people are going to be performance oriented folk. So if you ask like Alex Russell, who did um, like a cool article recently. Um, uh, yeah, it was like a half a year ago, but the graph is like, hey, this is what you think performance on the web is doing, but here's what it's actually doing. So it's like it's not growing since, I don't know, like 5 years or more. So your development machine, like when you're sitting on your M1 Mac, your development machine got way faster, but your users' phones didn't get any faster. So it means that while you're enjoying better and better developer experience, your users are suffering more and more. And this argument is like, he literally like talks about it in his like all of his talks, and it's like SPA architecture is bad. If you're doing SSR before you're doing your SPA, that means that you're doing a lot of hydration, which for like mobile users is as bad as as not doing it. So that's kind of like half of the problem, right? It's just like performance. It's like this solution is not as performant uh, as like smaller solutions, right? So and here we can talk about like Svelte or or just like smaller React frameworks as I don't know like Rakas or something or Astro. And the second half of it is like, hey, what about beginners? Yesterday, some beginner went to a boot camp and they said to them like, hey, go to React website and download Create React app. Today, this person opened that website and he couldn't find, or she couldn't find the link to Create React app. And now they're installing next.js, which is both kind of like more like it's heavier just in terms of the performance, but it's also heavier in terms of like all the things that you need to know to use it. And so those people are arguing, "Hey, what are you doing? You should be recommending Vite." And that's where we're going to go back to to that page. I think it can be really difficult to compare frameworks uh, as framework speed. It can really depend on what you're doing. Some frameworks are better than others in certain tasks. I mean, yes, but next is going to be on average kind of like the bigger one, the slower one, and so on. So it's just like uh, maybe Gatsby is also like pretty big, but I don't think it's as big as next. And yeah, okay, so how are you going to say about it? So half of the people got upset about like this list because hey, I don't like next. The other half of the people got upset. Hey, I want to use something simpler. Uh, and if you scroll way down there, uh, and if you find we can't stop you. So which is like nice nice way of putting it. Yeah. Uh so Zeko or Zico, I don't know how you pronounce it, but the thing that I said before is like at least it's cool that you can write like Vite and you're getting to this page. But once you're on this page and you're trying to search Vite, it's like, hey, Vite is mentioned once. um, Yeah, we're going to talk about like migration from CRA because this is kind of like a topic that I got excited recently. But uh, so we're going so we're going to this page. We're searching for weed. We see the hey, we can stop you, which means that you're doing something wrong. This is like not the way how to use React, even though it was a way yesterday, right? So today it's not the way. Today we're thinking that this is a bad way, and the kind of like the way that I'm reading this is, hey, if you're not building your website fully with React, so you're using like PHP on the back end or like Rails, Python, right? Go. If you're doing something that is like crazier, which again, like we're not going to link you to any of those frameworks. We're not going to show you like, hey, this is how like Laravel integrates with React or something like that. We are just saying that there is like a custom setups that exists and you can set it up yourself, which for me minimizes the role of just like using React as a library, which is like a that's that's the whole kind of like um, that's the whole debate of like is React a library or a framework? And it's like yeah, so those are frameworks, but you can use React as library, but we're not recommending you. And the way that like why they're not recommending that because they're like hey if you're trying to build your own framework on top of React, you're not going to do it as good as like people who did it here, right? It's like with Next, Remix, and Gatsby, which is a true statement, I think. But I wish they would find like a better better way. And I saw some people on Twitter saying, "Hey, you have this section about like bleeding edge React frameworks. Can I get there? Can I get into bleeding edge React frameworks? Because I wish there wasn't just Next.js, right? I wish there was Rakas.js or Hydrogen when it was a thing, and like all of the smaller frameworks, and like maybe like 10 stack start and all of the other things. So uh, it might be possible that um, okay, let me jump right into it then. Um, is that the right tweet? Yes, I think this one. Okay. So people are like asking, hey, can I can I get here? Can I get on this bleeding edge React frameworks? Uh, what does what does it mean? Is that only stuff that is like bleeding in the right direction? That is like right in the React terms, which is React server components. I think uh, um, I think Daishi, who is the creator of like Existing, Valtio, and Jotai, he is working on a new React Server Components framework, and he's like, "Hey, can I get on this list?" I'm bleeding in the right direction. I'm doing React Server Components, so should I be included here? Um, and Oh yeah, I see some chats in chat. So yeah, thanks Zeko and Eminox for follow. uh, can we get to 60 followers this stream? I think that would be cool. Yeah, so incremental migrations. Yeah, that's. Should I talk about it? I don't know. I think I'm not there yet, but okay, I should keep it for now. Okay, so the other direction is like, hey, we can use Next, Remix, Gatsby, which are like doing the right thing, right? They're proper React frameworks. They have SSR, they have SSG, which is kind of like a requirement these days in terms of React, and we can get bleeding edge frameworks that are like not as stable but doing like the right things. Can we get a section here that is like, hey, or if you want to do something that is like more maybe like content oriented, or maybe just like more simpler, can we have a vite uh, like that is like, it feels like for some people that was like as a default, once create react app dies, we will just have vite mentioned in docs. And this is where we go to my kind of like conversation that I had with someone like a few months ago, and I was like, okay, so if we are going to stop recommending CRA, what do you think is going to happen? It's like, yeah, we're going to recommend Vite, and it's like, no, this this is not going to happen. And Dan actually uh, wrote like a response. Where is it? Like for this pull request that Theo created, he wrote like a kind of like a thoughtful response of like, hey, this is what we are doing with Create React App. This is like why we're doing it. This is what we're like hoping to get out of the project. And you can clearly see that it's like Vito is not going to get any of those any of those things. And uh, So let me go back here. So I posted this. It got quite an amount of likes, and this is the thread where I got a lot of like. I wish React would just recommend Svelte or Vite or not like Svelte or Vue, right? And they actually do. This is like I was I mean it's hidden by like this deep dive thing, but I think they did it quite in a tasteful manner. And um, then in the discussion on Twitter, actually like said something about it, like yeah, we're not afraid to recommend like Svelte or Vue. So and they're walking the walk, right? They're saying, hey, there is such a thing as Svelte, there is such a thing as Next, and we think that like the industry as a whole does this. And if you go to Svelte docs and if you look like how to create a Svelte app, it's going to create a Svelte kit. So this is just kind of like React docs. I think that's the kind of like the point. Like one of the big points that I wanted to hit is like, hey, if React docs were not written like 10 years ago and then updated today, if there was like a kind of like update that would have happened in like 2018 when the hooks came out, at that point, uh, like those docs would not have recommended like to go all the way to next, maybe. But at this point, like everyone else is recommending to go to full frameworks and or like meta frameworks, right? And React is going to do it as well. So there is no way to kind of like dance around this issue. Uh, those docs are not written like 2 years ago; they're written today, and this is how they're going to say it. And they have this example of like Next and Svelte of like, hey, don't try to do this. If you don't care about SSR, just do like client only or do SSG, but don't skip it completely. Otherwise, you're getting yourself into trouble. And so I was happy that like Dan jumped on my uh, Twitter thread, and he pointed out some stuff. And this is where Nick said, "Hey, what if we create like a nice V template that is going to be kind of like a CRA um, that will have like features from CRA, or it will have like maybe even like compatibility level of CRA, right? Will that be like eligible to get on this page?" Um, and I think it's a great question, and it has 2 points. Right? Uh, should this template be built on top of Vite? Should this template be built on top of Astro? That's kind of like my uh, that's kind of like why I'm in this picture, because I'm building this template that is built on top of like both Vite and Astro. And where do we have it? Uh, I forgot where we have it, but like why does it have both Vite and Astro? And why not just Astro? Why not just Vite, right? And I guess we can retire this section before because it's like, hey, it kind of like died already. Okay, so what this template does is it's based on Vite. It has some level of um, compatibility with CRA. So you can run some of the code from CRA that is like would not be working in just Vite or just Astro, and it has Astro for kind of like it has Astro for SSG or SSR story, and it has V8 for HMR story. I'm sure that like at some point Astro will just like fix their HMR, and it's not going to be needed. It's going to be just the Astro template. But at this point, it's Astro template that has Vite on the side, because I feel like Astro without Vite is not as production. It's not as good like developer experience. It's good in terms of like deploying it to production, but yeah. Um, and this is what we use at work, and we use Vite in development because we need HMR, and we use Astro in production because it's like bundles everything correctly and like does lazy loading stuff and does SSG, so we can get like SEO and all those things that you can't get from Vite out of the box. You need to use like some plugins, and um, our story was that we had CRA application and we migrated from CRA like just a few months ago, just before it died. And I feel like this. I understand like Nick's point is like, hey, uh, what's wrong with Vite? But I think it's like enough is wrong with Vite, and the way that I put it is like it's just like not the whole solution. In the requirements that React set out now, it's not enough. It's not going to be enough for it to to hit all the checkboxes that React team has created. And even though it's like a good TRA replacement, um, I don't see React kind of like going back to that. So the term that um, hmm, now I can find it. It was with Ben. Dan was replying something to. Okay, let me search for Ben Holmes. Should be replies. I thought I like prepared everything, but apparently not. Yes, so this one. Uh, and if I'm saying that, I don't think that this is going to be enough because it doesn't have like a SSR or SSG story that is required now by React. The next obvious thing is like, okay, can Astro be used for that? Can Nick just create this template for Astro, right? And will that be good enough? Could that be included on that page? And this is where Dan is like, hey, this is difficult to recommend because of the user experience. And Matthew gave like a really good response for in terms of like, hey, your users could actually like benefit from that. It's a bit of like a blanket statement saying that it's going to be like a worst experience. It could be good experience, and which Dan obviously like ignored, but um, it got into a discussion of like, hey, we can build SSR SSG template for React that's built on top of Astro. That's not a problem, and I think me as someone who created QGP, that's where I think like the uh, that's where my mind goes, and I think that should be the solution. I think the same way that it's like Gatsby is there, and it's like, hey, Gatsby is kind of like content oriented content-oriented plugin-rich ecosystem, right? And it's like, hey, Astro is content-oriented plugin-rich ecosystem, and there is a like a template, let's call it like QGP, right? that is built on top of Astro, so you can use like as much or as little of that as you want. And um, especially if Astro adds like React Server Components support or something like that, it it's going to be like a really really good argument. So I'm going to go into one other thing that is um, uh, okay. So it was from me, and I wrote client side. And I think like Ryan Carniato responded to that or something. Where is it? Okay, this is a bit like a different point, but I also want to make it. Okay, it's Ryan Carniato. That's something. Faster, but yeah, that's the thing that I wanted to talk. Yep. Okay. Okay, that's what I was thinking about before. But let's go back to so could Astro build a template that is going to hit all of those points? If Gatsby is content oriented, plugin rich kind of like thing to build your React SSG SSR uh, applications or like websites, right? So here it says websites. So if Gatsby can do that, can Astro do that? And I think the point that kind of like Dan is doing, hey, what Astro has right now is not up to our standards. Where like we come in and say, hey, but you can build something that is like that has like SPA mode, and which like IELTS, for example, has, which is like one way of taking it. Is like when Astro has their own kind of like framework agnostic level layer of like making your uh, adding client side navigation on top of just like existing static website. It doesn't have to be static, but like like IELTS does, and uh, like Dan's point was, hey, uh, you're taking kind of like full blown React application. You're taking those things that would be like SSR or would be like React server components, and you're turning them into Astro files instead of React files. So I feel like you're migrating from React to something like more static, which Matthew got like feels like a bit upset about. But I can see how Dan is like seeing it this way. It's like, hey, you're not using React enough, which is like one way of doing it. But there's another way of doing it. Is what I do at QGP when you go to docs, when you go between pages. I'm using client-side navigation, right? So I'm using. Um, I think this one is like written in solid, but you can imagine that this, I have like a branch that is written in React, and then Ben is showing the same thing for um, also solid, by the way. um, Also, like, hey, you can use client-side navigation, uh, and given those like Blink-based frameworks that are like 10 stack start and solid start that are going to be like doing more stuff that is like technically based on Astro, we will see this thing kind of like changing. But I think both of those approaches are viable, and Astro could add this SPA mode to make Dan happy. But I think this SPA mode is already in Astro, and this is what I use at my like GPT QGP. This is what I use at my can I React, right? So this is like completely kind of like client side application, but I'm using I'm using React for it. Oh, not I'm using Astro for it. So I think that question is just a question of like until kind of like Dan realizes that this is actually happening. Okay. Just noticed LTT store hoodie. Yeah. I actually get so many people like complimenting this hoodie. I used to have like a like Warcraft and like Overwatch hoodies. I got some like compliments for it, but apparently LTT is like much bigger than Blizzard games. Um, okay, so I think I'm kind of like done with that point. Let me let me mark it. So the other point is going to be just like going back to going back to Vite. um, okay, how am I going to say it? Okay, so using React for entire sub-route on your existing website. Use React for part of your existing website. The modular environment, components anywhere in your page. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Um, okay. Uh, okay. So the next part is deep beat got completely like missed in all of that stuff, and even you in like not how do I say it, in not characteristic to him like manner actually said no, I'm fine. Like they did it, they did nothing like in bad faith, so I'm like I'm okay with the placement that we got. So let's see what he's saying. So the page that we looked before was start a new project, but he's saying, hey, there is another page that is like add to existing project. By the way, I have no idea how to get to it from search. As I showed in the beginning, it's like if you search for Vite, you're getting to this page. But there is another page, and it's like, hey, uh, this is how you can use React as a library still, right? And here, even though they're like uh, how do I say it? Let's say that you have existing app example built with another server technology. You want to implement all routes with fully with React again. So where's not fully? Yeah. Do they have it in like a CDN version? But it doesn't feel like they have it. Okay, let's go back to Vite. Okay. Okay. So uh, so even is mentioning, hey, on the add to existing page, they're actually mentioning read. So whether they mention it is like, hey, you have existing server-side application and you want to use React kind of like as a library instead of like building fully in React as a term that they set out, right? So if you have your existing like Rails, Django, or Laravel, uh, you can use Vite to achieve that. So they're not mentioning created a React app again. They're mentioning Vite, and all of those frameworks actually have usually like integrations for Vite. So you should probably like mention that instead of like doing it manually. But hey, this is how it is right now, and it's like you can use. Maybe you have just like one button, and you can use it for one button. So hey, you can talk to Vite people if you want to set up React, which is a bit funny because like most of the Vite people are like Vue people, but it feels like uh, even as saying, "Hey, I didn't think it like they did anything wrong. I'm kind of like I'm okay with that." Uh, they're mentioning Vite. They're like linking to our stuff. So what else can we like ask from them, right? And yeah, right. So the other page it's hidden, but not on that page. And um, I think it's fine. I think if you're talking about like, hey, can like Astro be mentioned? Can Vite be mentioned? It feels like it's going to be mentioned on this page. It feels like there is no way they're going to recommend it as like a starting point. This is going to be more of like a migration point or like integration point, and uh, it's possible that if you're already mentioning kind of like backend frameworks, if you're already mentioning Rails, Django, and Laravel, it's possible to imagine that you can say like Express, or what is like Fastify, and uh, Astro to show up here, right? It's the same kind of like backend technology. So why not use it? Why not use it with React? So uh, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it just feels that this is it just feels that this is how React is looking at it, and uh, this is how they're separating stuff. This is where is it? What is the term? Like this is fully in React, and this is some other stuff. So I think the speech is that Create React app was, hey, you don't need a backend. It's like, yeah, just get your stuff from like gem stack style. don't worry about backend. Like SPAs are fine. But now we're living in a world where like, hey, you have existing you have existing backend that does everything like that you need backend to do, like SEO and all of that stuff. Is like, hey, and you can add React to that, but don't forget that you need the backend part. And uh, maybe maybe if he called Astro backend, that's how it can get here. But this is just to show that unless you have a backend, there is no way React is going to recommend create React app level solutions. Uh, they're going to say, hey, use Vite, but it's going to be use Vite if you have a backend. Use Vite if you set up the like SSG or SSR for it. Which again, I'm we killed our create React app. I think I'm overall okay with the with this direction, and I think that's just those are just the times, right? So uh, React wasn't a server framework before, and now it is. React didn't care about like all of this stuff. They just had this client, server side client rendering that we call SSR, and now they are kind of like more serious, which is good because it's a talk about performance. It's like, hey, your users need to see your content quicker. Uh, if you want to do slow websites, just use Angular, right? That's kind of like that's the only framework that doesn't have any SSR story at the moment, right? So it's like there are like no they're not doing anything server side. So it's like, hey, if you're building your like internal dashboard that doesn't need to have SEO, that doesn't need to have fast response times, yeah, use Angular. um, just for a joke side, is like, yeah, there is no Angular. There's Svelte. Uh, huh. Next view. Okay. I don't know how they set up their search, but it's actually like on this page. If you go and search for Svelte, it's like it's there, but the search, the quick search doesn't bring it. So that could be a bug report, right? Okay. And now it's the last part. Marker. Okay. um, so now the last part. Everyone is saying CRA is dead, right? I made a funny, made a funny image. It's like, hey, CRAs died as of like today, right? So what are what are all the people who are like so Kant, for example, he has Kant's KCD, I guess, book store, um, bookshelf. I forgot. Yeah, bookshelf. Uh, Kant Dots has this like the whole course that is teaching you how to use React, and that course is based on Create React App, right? So this is all the this is all the Create React App stuff, and I actually like for fun. I have like a list of basically like projects that I was like, okay, if I have time, maybe I should try to like convert them to QGP. And this was like one of those projects. It's like, hey, how easy is it to convert it to something? I'm sure that Cant is going to convert it to Remix, which again, kind of like uh, it makes total sense in the world we're living in right now. But this is a project that is like 4 years or more like of work, and it's written in Create React App, and there is no easy way to just like get and rewrite it to something else. And uh, that's why Kant is like, hey, there are like CRA maintainers who are like not. I think most of them are like not in React team, right? So it started as a community project, and I think um, a lot of work was done in like in the community. So React would like update it to like a new React version. They will add some of like examples of the features that they're adding, but that they're not going to add React server components to create React app, right? But uh, I'm reading this and it's like, yeah, there are humans behind it. It's like, yeah, and there's also candidates like courses that are built on Create React app that are not going to be easily like updatable, and he's he's the person who is hearing, hey, CRA is that. It's like, why would I pay for a course if you're teaching me CRA, which is like dead and like no one uses it. And I hope something will come up out of it. I hope I don't know, like uh, uh, where is it? I hope Nick can figure out what to do with his. Where is it again? Can figure out what to do with his template. I hope there are going to be kind of like lighter alternatives to Next and Remix and Gatsby. I think Remix is like not that heavy, but it's really um, it's not easy to customize Remix. But that was actually like one of the points that Dan had in his like response to like, hey, let's kill create React app. Is like, hey, uh it was actually good that for 5 years everyone used the same template, so we can distribute the same ESLint rules, or we could distribute the same, I don't know, like CSS support or something like that, because everyone is using the same stuff, and we don't have to support like tons of configurations. On the other hand, you guys are the ones who are saying that React is a library, not a framework, so you're kind of implying that you can use React in many different ways. And sure, it's easier for you to support React if it's only like if there is only one flavor or like a few flavors. But that's why like smaller projects as Svelte or Vue, that's why they don't have like 10 meta frameworks as React has. They have like one. That's why Svelte only has SvelteKit, Vue only has Next, Solid only has Solid Start, and it's like, no, we can't, we barely can even support this one. Like, how are we going to support multiple ones? And React is, just because it's bigger, it's going to have like a harder time doing that. And uh, I feel for people who are like invested in Create React app. Like, as I said, I just got rid of it just recently. Some of my like personal projects are like still on React or on Create React app, and I guess like tune in for next streams where I'm probably going to get rid of them, right? And uh, I feel for people. This change was inevitable. We had ample kind of like warnings of that this is going to happen. I feel there are still some underserved people who felt like they will have better alternatives. There is no really easy way um, to get like a lighter alternatives. So we will see what will happen with Ragas or Vaku Vaku something. I already forgot what it is. Like a smaller meta frameworks that are like more flexible and maybe like not as locked in. Uh, like 10 stack router is 10 stack start is going to be locked in on 10 stack router. Remix is locked in on React router. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe Ruckus, I think they implement their own router. Yeah, so there are basically like no solutions that are not locked in on the router at this moment. And uh, is there going to be any conclusion? Um, I started figuring out what to do, how to migrate from Create React app like a year ago. It was really hard. I couldn't find something that is like completely fixes my issue, and I had to create my own. I think we're going to live through like a bit of a thing where people are going to try to write their own um, frameworks, especially people who like I don't know, like I don't think like Ken is not going to write his own framework. He already has remix, but I think people like Nick who are like, hey, I was happy with that level where we're changing it. Uh, People like that might create something like smaller, or like join Astro, join Ruckus.js, join 10 stack start. So uh, I'm like the feeling that Theo like did in his videos, like represented in his video was like, hey, CRA is dead. I'm so happy about it. I don't need to think about it anymore. The feeling that I'm having is like, hey, CRA is dead. It's such an exciting time because there's something needs to happen apart from that. It's not enough that CRA is dead. It's going to be like a new. Uh, there's something that's going to happen after that, and we don't know what. Again, uh, join me on my stream next week, where I'm going to talk to Matthew from Astro team, and we're going to check what they think about React Server components, what they think about like CRA is dying. So uh, I bet everything. I bet everything in Astro. I already use Astro in production. It works for my case, and let's see what is going to happen like in a year, right? Because the thing that I was trying to migrate from like CRA to something, the things that I tried was like next, remix, uh, quick, solid, right? So it's like there was no easy way to migrate from it, and hopefully there is going to be a demand for that now, uh, for a new project. Yeah, I should. Okay, so now just my personal opinion. So what are we going to do if I'm starting a new project in 2023, and I know that like I'm in this position, right? I know that CRA is dead. I heard it. Thank you. I got the information. Theo is like happy. She erased that. What I use next? All of my experiment with next, I wasn't happy with it. I don't like the. I'm not a fan of like file-based routing. I don't like how heavy it is. I don't like all the kind of like how to say it, all the conventions that it has, starting from like get server side props to just when I was trying to like build my app, it was like taking too long. So I don't know what's like. It always feels like the next version of next is going to fix everything. This is the same feeling that I have about like Windows. I stopped using Windows when like a year before like Vista was released. So I was like, okay, I didn't see any like good feature into that, but it's like every few years someone will say, yeah, they fixed Windows now. You can use it now, and like I will like believe them a bit, and I will try it, and it's like terrible. So uh, I wrote my blog in Next of one of those people like, hey, now Next is the greatest one. It's like you should use Next for everything. I tried it for my blog. I couldn't like my HMR was not working, so this is my blog. When I would work on an article and I would change something in Markdown files, there was nothing in Next that would refresh the page. So I had to write my own kind of like a plugin that would like go and read the file and like refresh the page and all that stuff. So it's like it's it's not. So when did I do it? Like, yeah, 2020. So I think it was like next. I forgot. There was like 9 something, 9.6 or something. That was like the big next release. I'm not excited about next. I don't know why it's not working for me. Um, I'm okay with the remix. I now live in Utah, so like I'm pretty close to those guys. I've been on like remix meetups a few times. I'm pretty excited about it, but I never could find like a use case where remix made sense, and I'm sure I will sometimes, but I don't yet. So I didn't like I never cared about Gatsby. I don't know, just when I needed like to build a quick static website, I actually used Tanner Linsley project. I think it was like React Static or something like that. So it was basically like smaller Gatsby, and uh, I guess the same feeling is like I want something smaller, and and now we go into like, hey, would I use Vite? And the answer is I use Vite on dev. I'm happy with Vite on dev. It has HMR. It like starts pretty quickly. All of that stuff. So uh, Vite on dev is fine. I don't understand how you can do production Vite. Is I can understand if you're like using like PHP and you have some other tools that are getting everything together, and that's where you use Vite as a library kind of. I understand that, but like I'm not using PHP. And uh Vite as a dev server, sure, like 2 thumbs up. Vite as a production server, I don't understand how. And the best way that I understand how is Astro. I think Astro is the kind of like is the thing that is missing for Vite. Just like framework agnostic, a way to turn your application that you're developing into like a website that you can send to your users. Uh, I I kind of like bet on Astro like a year ago, and I still think that this is the way. And does that mean that I had to create my own framework on top of Astro? Yes, kind of. And would I recommend everyone to do that? Maybe not everyone. but I don't think that Astro by itself is as bad as like Dan thinks, right? So it's like, hey, where is it? This is a regression. I think he is. I kind of like understand what he means. Like reach from Svelte. Reach from Svelte did. I don't know this one. Is like, hey, I can click between those pages, and I don't need to wait for like for full page reload. So I don't see how you can use full page reloads. And it's like, sure, but some people understand it's like Astro docs are built this way, and yeah, you get like a tiny delay, but it doesn't matter. It's if the price that you're paying for this tiny delay is compensated by the fact that it's like pages are downloading faster, you don't have to pay for hydration, and your like mobile users are happy. Why not? What's so wrong with this approach? And uh, it doesn't feel modern, I guess. So like IELTS is using Turbo. So if you go to their docs and you click around, it's doing client side navigation, and you can do like prefetching and preloading all that stuff. But is that better? Is that big of difference? Considering that like this thing has to know how to parse every markdown. You have to send every page like twice, right? So let's just find some text and let's go to page source, and it's like, hey, how many times do you send this thing? Okay, 6 times. I guess it's like for the sidebar as well. Right. So this is probably the text. The This is probably sidebar, and this is like the JSON that you're sending. Is that better? Like I'm scrolling for days, and that was like the start of the article, right? So like, is this HTML better than what Astro sends? Is it better for everyone? Yeah, so I disagree with that statement of like, hey, this is like a clearly worse user experience. That's why I like that Astro is giving you kind of like an option, right? You can use it like one way or the other. So uh, and maybe you should create your own. Maybe you should create your own framework if that gives you maybe you should create your own framework if that gives you a clear way how to move forward. And this is what we did for our company, and I'm overall kind of like pretty happy with this with the solution. um, we had a chance to build like next.js app, and the more that we built, the less kind of like I understood what was happening. So uh, maybe that says something about me. Um, there were like issues of like trying to deploy it to into like something other than Vercel and all that stuff. So um, I understand why people are upset with like Next.js being the thing. I understand why they put it there because that's the biggest project. That's the most supported. That's the one where like half of the React team is there. Uh, okay, so going back to the idea of like, what would I do? I would look for reasons to use like Next or Remix. If I don't have those reasons, the default is like Astro, uh, or more specifically like QGP, right? Um, uh, in terms of like other frameworks, I think that also gives you like an ability. If you're using Astro, that will give you like a better way to try out like different frameworks. So if you go to Fogbender, hey, this web page could be using Svelte to do like, I don't know, like we have like mobile mobile menu, right? So that could be in Svelte, because Svelte will compile out everything. They don't have like a too much runtime, and if I have like one component on the page, Svelte is going to be good. I have like a sign up or like uh, uh, login page. That page, like when I click sign in, does it matter if I do full page reload or I don't? Right? It doesn't really. It's like it's a fine expectations of users that if I go from this page to this page, I'm fine with page reload, because like those scripts are probably not going to be like the same scripts. And I'm going to be downloading kind of like mostly the same amount of like JavaScript or whatnot. And I don't want to download like AWS Cognito like libraries on my landing page just in case if someone clicks login, right? Um, so this page, like, hey, if you have like a component that we can get from somewhere that is like, or like ask someone to implement it, right? Or like maybe like AWS Cognito already has like this page implemented in like a Vue, right? We can use Vue here, like who cares? Once I click sign in, I'm going to be going to like slash admin page, which is like a separate page. It's fine to do full page reloads there. So this is where my mind goes, and this is how I'm thinking. Hey, if you have this like slow thing on our website, we can, I don't know, like analytics or something, right? So there are too much things are happening at the same time. Hey, let's just write it and install it. And this is how my mind this is how my mind goes around this issue. Okay, I feel like I'm talking in circles a bit, so let's just end it. And what are we going to do? Um, how are we going to end it? Okay, so create React app is dead. Everyone could be happy, uh, except for people who need to migrate to something. If you want to migrate to something, I really recommend you QGP. You have template that you can use the same way as we did at work, where you can have the same application running inside of Create React app, Astro, and Vite at the same time. You just run it, and you're like, hey, most of the stuff is working in Vite. I can use Vite on dev now, and I can get like a better developer experience. Maybe like few of the routes are not working yet, so like who cares? We can fix it in time. Once everything is working, you can once everything is working in Vite, everything should be working in Astro as well. So you can use Astro for production builds, and you will get some like performance benefits. You can start like adding like a blog that is like completely static or SSR, right, for your website, where you don't have to use React at all, or you don't have to use like React as much. So this is much nicer migration story than next.js, which is like it goes, hey, remove those packages, install those packages, and now rewrite your whole app using new router, new like everything. This is much nicer thing. So try that. Um, if you don't care about like production story, which could happen for like internal apps, is like, yeah, we don't have landing, we don't have like a blog, right? So like, why do we even care about that stuff? Yeah, just look into Vite templates, just see what kind of like stuff works. And again, once you have everything working in Vite, you can add like Astro later. That's kind of like my thing. Um, on the other hand, if you're happy to rewrite everything completely from the scratch, or if you're doing a greenfield project, yeah, just use one of those things. I think they're fine. I would, as a default, start with Remix. Actually, I think it's a bit like simpler model. It's a bit more performant. If you are kind of like stuck with Remix, you're like, hey, we know like that few features are not going to be covered by Remix. Yeah, maybe try next.js. And I think that's it. That's kind of like my, I guess, like my celebration of Create React app dying. I'm sure that those pages that mention Vite are going to be kind of like a bit of a contentious topic. They're going to be, oh no, not this page. Where's the, what was the other page? Uh, yeah, this one. So I'm sure people will try to get there. Like I would glad to be mentioned there. This QGP, I need like a lot of help. This is, I just like open sourced what we had at work. It's not how did I say it? Oh, it's happening. It's not production grade, probably for a lot of people. And yeah, and tune in on the stream that I'm having next week, and we will see. Maybe we have a better solution for that. Okay. Thanks everyone who jumped on chat. And this is a fun thing that I do is random animal emoji. So if you watch until the end, just like leave a comment and leave. Is it owl or frog? Owl. Yeah, and leave an owl emoji so that this is going to be like our secret message that you watched until the end. Okay.